This is a video that I'm really excited to be making. I did a little bit of research while decompiling the Ganondorf boss fight. I did some research on why Ganondorf will sometimes return the light ball when you're standing on the center platform. This is an issue that has caused speedrunners a lot of trouble over the years. So I'm going to grab Chef's PB. It's the first one I could find. And you'll notice that he's going to stand on the center platform, which most of the time guarantees a one-shot, but Ganondorf is going to hit it back. After he hits it once, it's going to be like behind him, and he's going to hit it back, like so. Hits it once, reflects. And you see he even pulled out his light arrow expecting it to be a one-shot, but he hit it back anyway, and recovered nicely. Anyway, so I've been decompiling Ganondorf. This actor is really interesting, probably my favorite one so far. For those that don't know, the decomp project is recreating the source code for the entire game from scratch. I've been working on Ganondorf. I'm only about 50% of the way through all of the code, and it's already a really long file. But I have everything I need to understand the volley match in particular. So like my past videos, I'm going to be stepping through code and reading how it works. I'm going to try to make it as easy to understand for people that don't read code. And I'm also going to try something different, and I'm going to write out all of the points that I make in plain English on the side here, so that for those that aren't reading the code, you can try to follow along on the side here, and I'll just type right there. So something really interesting that I want to touch on real quick. This isn't too important for understanding how the fight works, but it's really neat anyway. Basically, Ganondorf the actor is more than just himself. The light ball that he spawns and the big magic attack and some other things are instances of Ganondorf. It's really weird to think of it that way, but basically in this list that shows me all of the actors, the light ball shows up as a Ganondorf, which is just really interesting. But what this means is the volley interaction, Ganondorf himself is not doing any of the logic for that. He's not responsible for knowing when to hit it back or when to get hit or anything like that. It's all handled by the light ball itself. So this is the function here that takes care of the volley. I'm definitely not going to touch on everything. It does a lot of things like playing the right sounds, making the ball rotate, making it move properly. But I'm going to focus specifically on the volley interaction. So to break this down, the first important thing to know is that there are two distinct ways that you can hit the light ball. You can hit it with a hitbox, and you can hit it with a bottle. For the longest time, I thought that hitting it with a bottle was like an accident or like a side effect of the hitbox system. But no, swinging a bottle does not have a hitbox at all, and it is very hard-coded to work specifically this way. This section of code right here basically checks if player is in a swinging bottle state, and if the light ball is within 25 units of Link, which is a really short distance. And that piece of information is going to be important later. But either way, you can swing a bottle to hit it, or you can use your sword. And that changes how Ganondorf will choose whether to hit it back or not. So after you hit the light ball, there are two courses of action that Ganondorf can take. He can either get hit, or he can attempt to hit it back. This does not mean that he will hit it back, but he will attempt to. So looking at this code here, we have if hit with bottle is false, meaning you hit it with your sword. There's this block of code here which says if Ganondorf is 250 units away from Link, at least 3 volleys are required. So every time you hit it, it keeps track of which volley number it is. If you're 250 units away, which is pretty much, I did some testing, and you're never going to be in this condition standing on this platform. You have to be on the outside here. So if you're on the outside ring, you have to hit it at least 3 times before he will even consider getting hit. In the context of speedruns, this condition means nothing because you're going to be standing on the middle platform. So assuming a speedrun context where you're in the middle, we're ignoring this one. And next we say if a random number is less than 0.7, this is a 70% chance that Ganondorf will try to hit it back. So that's a pretty high percentage that he will attempt to hit it back to you. And then otherwise, for the last 30%, he will get hit no matter what. Now I say attempt to hit because there's going to be some logic later that's going to say whether or not he actually gets hit. But he will be set to at least attempt to hit it back. It won't just hit him instantly. And this little bit of code here is really important for later. But basically, if a spin attack is used, the ball will speed up. It initially is, I think, 12 units fast. Yeah, 12. And if you hit it with a spin attack, it goes 8 units faster, and that will be important. Now, for Bottle in this block down here, Bottle seems to be an Easter egg that was added in specifically. And interestingly, it's supposed to have a 90% chance of Dorf hitting back the light ball. So it's, in practice, in speedruns, you'll see people use it when they can because it's actually really good at close range. But it's intended to be really bad. He's supposed to hit it back 90% of the time. And then for the other 10%, he will get hit. I can even try and demonstrate that right now, actually. All right, so I'm gonna take a step back here. At this range with a Bottle, with a 90% chance of a reflect, I'm expecting a pretty lengthy volley match. Of course, you can get lucky and get it on the first shot. It's basically like Dampe, 10% chance. But overall, I would expect a longer exchange like this. So that took a good bit. So just to recap, under speedrun conditions, where you're standing on the middle platform and you don't have a Bottle, you will have a 70% chance of a reflect attempt and a 30% chance of getting a hit. This glitch of Ganondorf hitting it from a really far distance can only happen if he attempts to reflect. So this here, when he hits it behind him, you have to get that 70% chance. If you get 30, you're good. You don't even have to worry about it. So for this 70% chance of a reflect, the reason why I specify attempt to reflect is because even under these conditions, you can still hit him with the light ball. So I'm going to scroll down here to Dorf wait for volley. So during this time, Ganondorf is not able to actually hit the ball back. He's waiting to. And the conditions to hit it are Ganondorf's current action is throw light ball. That's always true. And Ganondorf's state is throw finished. And this is really important. This is why the bug happens in the first place. Ganondorf has a 24 frame throwing animation right here. And Ganondorf is not allowed to start reflecting the ball until that's finished. So keep that in mind going forward. Now dropping down here, this is also an important side note. Basically, the distance that Ganondorf can start reflecting the ball back is going to depend on the speed of the ball. Because if it's approaching him faster, he needs to start hitting early. It makes sense. And if you recall from earlier, the speed of the ball is going to be faster if you did a spin attack. So Ganondorf can only start reflecting sooner from a further distance if the ball is moving faster from a spin attack. It's something to keep in mind, but less important for now. So assuming we've met the proper conditions for Ganondorf to start reflecting the ball back, meaning the throw animation has finished completely and the ball is within an appropriate distance from Ganondorf, then we can move on to the next step. So we set a timer to 8 frames and move down here. Now, in the volley process, we then check that timer that we just set to 8 to see if it has a value of 1. Now, before we got to this point, it decremented 1. So it's really between 7 and 2. So this 5 frame range, he's not able to reflect the ball back. And what happens is, if you don't meet this timer requirement, jump down here to this case where he actually gets hit. So the code is written in a really strange way. I definitely wouldn't have done it this way. But the net effect is, even if Dorf was supposed to hit the ball back, if it's in the appropriate range of hitting him within 5 frames of Link reflecting it, it will hit him anyway. So this is basically guaranteeing that if you're at close range, if the ball reaches him in 5 frames, he'll get hit anyway. So hearing that information, your first thought is probably, so if we have to hit him within 5 frames, then wouldn't you want to be as close to him as possible so that you hit it as soon as possible? That's what you'd think, but if you remember, we have this caveat of his throw having to be finished. So you have to balance being within range to hit him instantly within 5 frames, and Ganondorf has to finish his throw. So you can't be right in front of his face, because by the time the ball reaches you and you hit it back, he's still going to be throwing. So there's a balance between these two different factors here. So I'm going to try to demonstrate what's going on here a little bit. I'm going to move this to the side so I can walk along with the code. In this case, I'm going to do a vertical slash. You can see on the bottom here is the frame count for his throw animation. So I'm going to slash now on frame 11 of the throw. The sword made contact with the ball on frame 16 of the throw. Now if you remember, there's 24 frames in this throw animation. In order for Ganondorf to get hit, the ball has to be within 30 units of Ganondorf after this 24 frames has run out. So I'm going to move along. Now, frame 23, this is the last frame of his throw animation. On the next frame, he'll be able to either reflect or get hit. But at this point, the ball has already moved too far behind him. If you look at the code here, the ball has to be within 30 units in order to actually hit him. So, this code is not going to run and he's not going to hit it. And he's just going to magically hit it from like 10 feet behind him. It looks really silly. But that is the main point here, is that yes, you want to hit him with the ball really quickly because you only have 5 frames of hitting him, but you can't hit him too soon because you have to wait for this throw to finish as well. So it's a balancing act between these two variables. So the first question that came into my mind after figuring this out is, why is Bottle so good? It's pretty undeniable that in speedruns, when you have a bottle and you're able to use it, it works so much more consistently than doing any slashes. And it took a little bit of figuring out, but this is best displayed with free cam. So I'm actually going to record a macro off cam real quick of him slashing or swinging the bottle at the light ball. Okay, I've got a macro queued up. I'm going to turn on hitbox view. And I'm going to go into free cam. I'm going to try to get a side view of this over here. Alright, this should be good. So I'm going to frame advance through this macro here. And this hitbox comes out really late. But now, the ball gets really close to Link. You'll see that it made contact on frame 19 of the throw. So a lot more time is wasted between the ball being thrown and the reflect back actually starting, which gives you enough time to hit him after the 24 frame limit has passed. So Bottle is only really good because it's not actually a hitbox. It's just a state check for Link. And then once it gets like literally on top of him, the ball starts going back. And those few extra frames, it was like three or 4 frame difference, is all it takes between him getting hit or not. Okay, so now to demonstrate why a vertical slash is the worst thing you can do for this. You'll see here I've got a macro queued up. It's gonna do a slash on frame 11. And it makes contact on frame 16. And if you saw there, the sword extends outward and the ball gets hit super far away from Link. And this means that it's closer to Ganondorf. So the amount of time it's going to take to travel back to Ganondorf's hit range is a few frames less. And this makes the actual difference between him getting hit or not. So I hit it on frame 16 instead of 19 it was with Bottle, because it got hit so much further out. And now it's going to reflect back. And remember, 24 frames. This is the last frame. Next frame he can hit it, but it's already too far back. It's more than 30 units away. So it does this silly thing where it goes way far behind him and gets hit back anyway. So the common strategy that people do other than a vertical slash is a spin attack. Now this one has an extra layer to it, because if you remember from earlier, specifically doing a spin attack on the light ball will increase its speed from 12 to 20, which is an 8 unit increase in speed, which is pretty significant. And if you recall, our goal is to not let the ball hit him so soon that his throw animation isn't finished yet. So speeding up the light ball is the opposite of what we want to do. So there are certain scenarios where this can matter. And I have an example here. I'm going to play a macro. And it's not a charge spin. It doesn't matter all too much. It's about the same. But I make contact on frame 19, which is the same as bottle in that other example. And the light ball basically goes inside of Link. It's not hit like outside. And you'll see that he's still going to reflect it back, because the ball is moving faster and it reached him too soon. So if I take that same state and I disable the macro, I'm going to do a horizontal slash from the same exact position and everything. On frame 13 I'll slash. Make contact on frame 19, same exact scenario. You'll see that it's going to hit this time, because the ball wasn't moving as fast. So by the time it reached Ganondorf, that throw animation was complete, so it was able to hit. Now, based on observations from people doing the spin attack strat in runs, it does work most of the time. So I think the scenario where the speed difference matters is probably not that frequent. Like, he has to be pretty close for it to matter. Some more testing can be done, and probably can even do some math based on his flying pattern and whatever. But yeah, I think a spin attack is definitely putting you at a disadvantage versus something like a horizontal slash, but it's much easier to execute consistently RTA. I say this because you can get the same effect with a horizontal slash, but the horizontal slash only has 2 slash frames to actually hit the light ball. And in most categories, if you get hit, you're dead. So I think in theory, a horizontal slash from as far away from him as possible is going to be the optimal strat, but I'm unsure if people should really be doing that in runs. That was a lot of information to take in at once, so I'm going to try to just summarize all of the main points from the top. So there are 2 ways of hitting the light ball. You can hit it with a bottle, and you can hit it with a sword hitbox. With a sword hitbox, there's a 70% chance that Dorf will try to reflect the light ball back to you. There's a 30% chance that he will guaranteed get hit by it. With a bottle, there's a 90% chance that he will try to reflect it back, and a 10% chance that he will guaranteed get hit. If Ganondorf is going to attempt to reflect the ball back, there's still a way for you to get a hit if the light ball reaches within 30 units of Ganondorf in the first 5 frames of the reflect. However, in order to get to the point where it checks for the ball to be within 30 units, his 24 frame throw animation must be complete. This means that if you get that higher chance of Dorf trying to reflect it, you have to balance being close enough that you'll hit the light ball in 5 frames, and far enough that his full throw animation will be complete by the time the ball reaches Dorf to hit him. If you have a bottle, that's always going to be the preferred method of hitting the ball. For one, because the frame window for swiping and hitting the light ball is really large. And secondly, when you swing bottle, the light ball has to travel all the way to 25 units away from Link, which is practically on top of him, right there. So you're wasting more time in his throw animation before letting the ball reflect back toward Ganondorf. So when this 24 frame timer is up, he's ready to get hit. An early vertical slash is always going to be worst case scenario, because when the light ball travels, your sword is going to stick out and hit it a few frames earlier than it would if you were using a bottle, for example. So it gets hit really early on, and before his throw is finished, the light ball has already traveled too much. It's already behind him, and he won't be able to get hit by it. So he's going to reflect it from all the way back here. That said, later vertical slash frames are better. So if you're going to stick with that method, you want to try to hit it as late as you can without getting hit. A horizontal slash is in theory the best slash. However, for speedruns, it's probably not the best because you only have 2 frames to actually swing. But you'll see that it makes contact pretty much exactly the same way a bottle does. It's right on top of Link, so it had that same amount of travel time. Now, a spin attack is similar to a bottle in that you get the same late hit, but it has the disadvantage of the ball traveling faster. So you'll see the ball travels basically on top of Link as well. It has a long travel time. However, the ball is going to move back faster. And if you're in a scenario where you're pretty close to Dorf, this can ruin it and make him hit it back. So if you're going to stick with the spin strat, the way to go is to try to move away from Dorf while you're charging as much as you can. This way you put enough distance between the two of you that when it gets reflected, it will have enough time for the throw to finish. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover. With this new information, we might be able to come up with some better strategies for this, but regardless, it's just nice to know how this works and what is random and what is not. So pretty cool stuff. But yeah, that's everything.